the Catholic Church, they don't believe in any of this, do they? But they are keeping track in the old way. She said the main themes of goddess symbolism, the main theme of goddess symbolism is the mystery of birth and death and the renewal of life, not only human, but all life on earth. That's really important. It's not human-centered, it's goddess-centered. Goddess is nature. And indeed, in the whole cosmos, this symbol system represents cyclical, not linear, mythical time. So what are we looking at when we're looking at the 8-point calendar? That's been a fascination of mine now for years. It's actually a literal structure, a psychic structure that holds us in place on this planet. It's our story, and it's been our story from the beginning. So what happens here, this material with the 8 lunar phases, it especially for me came from my friend Demetra George. In the 1980s, she introduced this whole template and structure to me, the 8 lunar phases, and then how they're superimposed over the solar year to make the 8 goddess holidays, as we call them, but the 8 power points in the solar cycle. And so I look at this template. Here's the new moon at the top. I like to go out to the left because the moon goes widdershins. And I like to do that because, as I'll show you later, it means that you can look at an astrology chart and it corresponds exactly with this template. And so in my classes, when we had the women's spirituality graduate programs, I like to do an astrology chart for each student so that she could see her own sun-moon phase relationship, because that's what this is all about. There's the sun, there's the moon, and there's the earth. It's like a dance of energies among the 3. And that's what we celebrate in these cycles because, for instance, the new moon corresponds to the winter solstice, and the full moon down at the base corresponds to the summer solstice. It just means the point of the most darkness and the point of the most light. And it's the astronomers who figure out the timing of those things. They're not astrologers, but it used to all be one thing. And so I hope you all do follow the calendar year and pay attention to the solstices and equinoxes and the cross quarter days. And then you have to pay attention to the new moon and the full moon. And you know, the Catholic Church, for example, still fixes the Easter date in alignment with this structure. They, you know, Easter, you may or may not know, the reason it's always so crazily different, sometimes in March, sometimes in mid-April, is because Easter is calculated by astronomers. Well, Easter isn't, but the spring equinox is calculated by astronomers. Easter is the first full moon after the spring equinox, but it's got to be a Sunday. So it's the first Sunday after the first full moon, after the equinox. So the spring equinox happens astronomically around the 20th, but it can be the 21st. And if there was a full moon 2 days before, or something like that, then Easter is put off into April because the first full moon after the equinox is going to be a month later. And if it happens that the equinox happens and then the full moon is right after, then Easter's very early that year because it's the Sunday after the full moon, after the equinox. And so think about that, you know, the Catholic Church, they don't believe in any of this, do they? But they are keeping track in the old way.